Hey Explorers, this episode was brought to you by Anchor.fm. It's the distribution service that we use to get this podcast to you. And to be honest, it's great. It's free. There's tons of creation tools that let you edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. They upload it to everything, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and tons of others. You can even make money with no minimum listenership. So it's got everything you need in just one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Dragons.
Yeah, you can mount them. Welcome
Back
to
rules.
As They Are.
You took 2 words. That's not fair. Fuck. All right, welcome back to Rules as Written, the D&D podcast where we read the rules just before explaining them to you. No, we have many years of D&D experience. We are savants, prodigies.
And about 10 minutes of reading experience.
Yeah, so today we're going to be looking at damage and healing and cover. Damage, healing, and cover.
Yeah.
So, should we start with cover?
Yes.
All right.
So, cover is whenever you're, fighting behind something.
Makes sense. When you are covered.
You are covered.
If you're fighting behind a duvet, then you will have cover. In theory.
You can see how that works, I guess. So, the rules as they're written, cover follows 3 categories.
What are they, JT?
I want to tell you.
Cool.
Tell me.
Are you going to tell me now?
Yeah. I'm ready.
Okay.
There's half cover, 3/4 cover, and full cover.
Okay. Otherwise known as total cover.
Fine. I guess you could also call it that.
So half cover, is that half or more, half or less? How much do you have to cover before you're in half cover?
At least half.
Okay, so between a half and what I assume, 3/4.
Yes. So anything in that range, half cover. You just get 2 bonus AC.
Not bad.
And +2 to any dex saving throws that you make.
Not bad
That's
at all.
kind of like the...
If you can just duck behind something. So it's just a flat +2 to your dex saving throws and your AC.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing where it's a cover is something that you can maintain through an attack. So if someone's shooting an arrow at you, it's a little bit more straightforward. If someone's trying to swing a sword at you, I guess it's hope they don't move around it.
Just on the other side of the tree going, whoa, whoa, whoa.
You can't get me.
Yeah, I know some people have thought that it's an advantage or disadvantage thing.
Yeah, those idiots.
But yeah, it's just a flat bonus.
Yeah, just a flat bonus to your AC or dex saving throws.
What about the 3/4?
3/4 is just a +5, and you have to have at least 3/4 cover.
Up to full.
Yeah.
So total cover is when you're completely head to toe behind a big old rock.
Yeah, and at that point, enemies can't even target you, and vice versa. You can't even target someone with total cover.
You can still target the ground next to them, though.
Yeah, and that's covered. So if you have an area of effect, like a spell or something that might reasonably extend beyond their cover, then yeah, I mean you can still get them normally.
Get them good.
You can go get them.
Get them.
What kind of bonuses would you get from dex saving throws under total cover?
So if you're under total cover, the way you got to think about it is if they're hitting you with an AoE effect, an area of effect, they're hitting, say, behind you. So you're not in total cover anymore. So you don't get any bonuses for it. If they hit behind you and from the front you have total cover, but from behind you have half cover, then you get the bonuses of half cover.
So you think about it from perspective
so
of
the line of
spell.
sight, as it were, comes from the epicenter of the spell.
Got you. Okay, so you just have to frame it in that way as opposed to what's your direct line of sight.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to damage, the actual damage and healing, what we're here for.
Yeah, so you gotta hurt those hit points.
Hit points that can be hit.
Yeah.
You should have a few. Most people start with between 7 and 15 maybe.
Yeah.
Because the
And if
highest
it's anything
you could
else,
be...
then you did it wrong.
Well, so your base health is normally your con plus a hit dice. So 6 is the lowest hit dice plus a con for a wizard. That could be quite low, so I guess the lowest is 6.
Yeah.
And the highest would be a barbarian with a high con.
And we talked
12,
more about that in
13,
our
14, 15 maybe.
attributes episode.
Check that one out.
The Constitution.
So those are hit points.
Yeah, if you've ever played a video game ever, you probably understand what hit points are. So after you make your attack roll, which we talked about last episode,
Yep.
then you'll make your damage roll.
and that is how much hit points you're going to take.
Yeah.
Hit points are just a numerical value of your health.
Yeah. So
In case you haven't
played
a video game.
Yeah, so you take the damage roll from their health, and that will be related to either your weapon damage, any modifiers that we'll talk about,
Any spell damage.
spell damage, it'll say it straight on the thing.
Yeah.
And it can target one to multiple sometimes, depending on the attack or spell.
Yeah. Although it's worth noting that if you have a spell, normally it's a spell, that damages multiple people, you just roll the damage once and you apply that damage to everyone.
Yes.
So save time.
Yeah.
More than anything. What about critting? Because we talked about critting last time a little bit. We touched on rolling a 20.
Yeah, so now we can talk about what kind of damage that actually does when you crit.
Yeah.
And if you deal a d20 on your attack roll, you roll a d20 and you hit like the 20, the magic 20.
Yeah.
Then you get to roll your attack dice damage, your damage dice, twice. So if you have just like a d8 rapier or whatever, then you just roll 2 d8s.
Yeah, so you're kind of doubling your damage. Although, like I said last time, this is one of the most house-ruled things, I think.
Yeah, you can have all kinds of different things.
I know some people that will make you instantly get the maximum dice. So in that example, you would just do 16 damage, 8 plus 8. Some people
double it.
Some people just max 1.
Yeah.
So they'll have you'll roll 1 dice normally, and then you also add an 8 on top of that. I think the idea, the reason most people do it is because, as the rules is written, you can roll 2 1s, and that's pretty
it kind of
crap.
sucks.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
So it's guaranteeing that you're going to do more damage than a normal attack already.
yeah. A little homebrew.
Yeah, and it's various kind of takes on that.
Yeah, I know some people who just double, like whatever your roll is on your first roll, you just double that.
Yeah, some people double multipliers.
Yeah.
I've had one play group where you roll triple dice, but you lose all multipliers because rolling dice is fun.
Yeah, that's the dice rolling group. So in the rules as written, you just roll your damage dice. Whatever dice are associated with your damage, you roll those twice.
Yeah.
But you only add your modifiers after
Yeah.
the damage rolls. So
So
like
you're not doubling your modifiers.
Yeah, you don't double your proficiency or your like strength bonus or your dexterity bonus on your weapon or whatever.
So we've talked about damage. I think we've got a good overview. But I think a big confusing thing to people is the damage types.
And this matters. Yeah.
This does matter.
So-
a lot of times you'll have resistances.
Resistances and vulnerabilities.
Yep. And immunities as well.
So we'll get into the resistances and vulnerabilities in a second. A brief overview of the damage types are, there's like 3 damage types that are like your weapon damage types.
Yeah, kind of non-magical is how I think. Non-elemental.
Non-magical, yeah.
Yeah.
Bludgeoning, piercing, slashing.
Which makes pretty much sense. Bludgeoning is hitting something with a hammer.
Slap.
Piercing is stabbing something.
Ouch.
Slashing is cutting something. I felt I was there, JT.
It's all about the roleplay.
So those 3 are pretty straightforward. It will come in to some. I think a good example is that some rock creatures may be vulnerable to bludgeoning, like
Yeah.
you're smashing them with a hammer, but resistant to slashing because
Yeah.
you can't guard them.
Yeah, so you can
Things
kind of
like
like, this is something that I think is valuable to think of, especially when you're dealing with monsters that might have kind of obvious vulnerabilities to certain things.
Yeah.
As far as the elemental ones go, there's acid, you know, which everyone has in their
Corrosive.
stomach.
Vomit on people. That's
Yeah.
an acid attack.
Boomer. Cold and fire.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Although I'm kind of mad that it's not cold and hot.
I deal hot damage.
There's force. Force is like
Force is a bit
a general type of...
Yeah, it's very kind of using the
magic.
Force.
Yeah.
You know when Obi-Wan Kenobi like throws those droids in like the first.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
they
a Force
take
attack.
a
It's
little
very much
force
just
damage.
pushing something.
Yeah, the examples that they give are like magic missile and spirit weapon.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a catch-all.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
when it doesn't really
Yeah,
fit
it
into
doesn't fit
anything
into
else, but
others.
it's still like a spell.
Yeah,
and
there's another
obviously
one
magic.
I think that can also be a bit like that, but we'll get to that. I'll bring it up.
Lightning,
Lightning is the electricity.
the electricity one. There's also thunder damage.
That is the other one.
Thunder damage is a little bit weirder, right?
Well, thunder is kind of more like percussive damage.
Yeah.
Or concussive, I think is more the term. Things like a grenade would almost be thunder damage.
Oh, it could be. Yeah.
In the way it's that kind of shockwave.
That's kind of like the effect of most of these things.
Yeah, which is why I feel like force and thunder can be a bit
hard to
interchangeable.
distinguish between sometimes.
Push between. I tend to think force is more of a slower type of damage as opposed to thunder, which is very more explosive. Yeah.
So then there's necrotic damage. Which
Things
is like,
dying.
you decay.
Pretty much what your necromancer does.
Yeah, necrotic damage. Yeah, don't use it against rock monsters.
Yep.
Probably.
Don't use it against anything that isn't
living.
Yeah, organic.
Yeah. Poison.
Everything's immune.
Everything's immune.
Don't spec into poison. Never spec into poison.
Psychic damage.
Thinking really hard.
Yeah, on the SATs, ACTs, whatever the British equivalent is.
GCSE?
Your GCSEs.
Maybe? I'm not sure.
Your radiant damage.
That's Jesus.
Yeah, your Jesus.
Your Jesus damage.
Yeah, holy damage. Yeah, it's also, it's weird. It's kind of like light damage.
I have a funny feeling it might used to be called holy damage.
Way
back when, but I
mean,
a
lot of this
to try and get away from the Jesus.
Yeah.
I think it was renamed to Radiant.
I think a lot of people confuse this with like fire damage as well, because like a lot of them might be
things like Sunbeam
like
could be fire damage, but it's not. It's Radiant.
Yeah. So would you have radiant damage do things like, would it be able to catch things on fire or stuff like that reasonably?
I think it depends on the flavor of the spell.
Yeah, so it's just about that.
Yeah, Radiant's good against undead, keeping that kind of holy spirit alive.
Yeah, more like holiness than it is like fire in most circumstances.
Yeah, Radiant and Necrotic kind of go together in my head.
Yes, Radiant and Necrotic. Dead.
So we touched on resistance and vulnerabilities. Is there anything more?
So resistance is when your damage is halved by things.
Simple enough.
So you roll out all the damage first, and then you half that.
Rounding up or down?
Rounding down.
You always round down.
Yeah.
We round up though. Sometimes it's fun to round up.
You always round down unless you don't.
Yeah, there's like 2 exceptions. Rolling hit dice, I think you round up. Something like that.
Yeah,
it will say, but if it doesn't say, you always round down.
Yeah.
But I like to round up because higher numbers are more fun.
And then vulnerabilities are you do double the damage.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Spoilers. I was on the edge of my seat there.
Yeah. Wonder no longer.
So that's the damage. But how do we undamage?
You must mean undamaging
How do we do the undamaging?
So healing is with you.
Undamaging!
Undamaging is usually when you use a spell or potion and you're curing some of your hit points. You can't go above your maximum.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Cure wounds.
And that's basically it. It's just depending on your spell or your potion, it will tell you straight up this is how much you heal, and you're rolling dice probably.
Yeah. It is literally undamage. It's pretty much the same as damage, but not.
The opposite.
Yeah. What happens when you do all the damage and you haven't undamaged yourself enough to have some of the damageable numbers?
Total damage.
All the damage. Once you
Complete
have
damage.
absorbed all the damage, what happens?
So you drop to 0 hit points. Things are looking pretty grim.
Oh boy.
Your friends, they're battling. They notice you, or maybe they don't. And now you've got to go through the whole, do I die now? In my 6-month-long campaign that I have a 3-page character for. Is this the moment?
So I think the first thing you do is death saving throws.
You do your death saving
biggest
throws.
thing.
So you roll a d20, and if it's a 10 or higher, then you have a successful death saving throw.
Yeah, so you've actually got a 55% chance of succeeding. The odds are kind of stacked for you.
Yeah, a little bit. A little nice thing.
Which is nice.
Thanks, Gary Gygax.
Cheers, Gary.
So yeah, 10 or higher, and then you have a success. Up to 3 successes or 3 failures. And you'll see it on your little character sheet. They'll put little circles or something, depending on which weird site you printed it on. But 3 successes, and you're stabilized.
3 failures.
You did.
And you're the opposite of stable.
You've
Both
opposite-
in-game and out.
Your opposite life.
What if you crit?
So if you roll a 1, so crit fail, if you roll a 1, then that counts as 2 failed saving throws. So you take off 2 boxes on your deaths.
Yeah.
If you get a 20, you automatically get 1 HP and you're up.
Yeah.
You've just willed yourself to life.
We don't kind of do that. We do the 2 successes. I like to keep my players on the edge of their seats.
And I wonder if we've done that because you wanted it that way, or if we just haven't read this section before.
Definitely the former, JT. And
It's a
I'm
style
that you would
choice.
even, I'll say it, dare to challenge my authority.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, these are the rules as written. These are guidelines that you can flavor your own campaigns with. But if you have to fight somebody, well, you can tell them that we said that.
There's a few other things that we do as well concerning damage. We have Fluff and Crunch, which are kind of gaming terms. Fluff is the flavor of a rule, and Crunch is the actual rules as written. So
Yeah.
this is more focused on the Crunch. But we kind of have Fluff damage and Crunch damage. We separate the two. So you can be at full health, but you can still have a broken arm if it happened intrinsic to the story or something, or as a consequence of something really stupid.
Yeah, and this will happen if you, like, you know, instant knockout or instant kill enemies as well. Like, you catch a guard off guard. You know.
So even though you should be rolling out your damage and with your crits, maybe there's a chance they don't die, we fluff it.
Yeah.
You do a lot of the time. So there's fluff damage and kind of crunch damage. And the fluff damage is more kind of ongoing effects that have happened because you've sustained grievous injuries.
Yeah, role-playing in the world of reasonability.
Yeah, perfect. Very well put, JT.
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt. I'm copywriting that right now. Don't anybody steal that.
Yeah, we've got a date.
Yeah. So that's that. And if you drop to 0 hit points, you die. Or I mean, if
When do you do your death saving throws?
Sorry, if you get 3 death saving throws, you die.
Yeah.
You do your death saving throws when you drop to 0 hit points at the start of every turn.
If you
You'll
start
roll
your
a
turn with
D20.
0 hit points, then we also do it when you go down. I think it adds to the
For
drama.
Dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
That's not
is
the
this is
rules
a
as
conscious
written.
choice.
Yeah, we're teaching you a lot of little homebrews as well.
Yeah.
But the rules as written is just when you start your turn with 0 hit points,
Yeah.
and you make a death saving throw. You also will have to roll a death saving throw if you ever take damage while you're currently down, like while
Yeah.
you're unconscious.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So that would be like area of effect, unless monsters are targeting you, in which case your DM is mean.
Or you're fighting the witch from Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. You can also instantly die.
This is something I tend to kind of only try and bring up if it comes up.
This is something that would really suck. This is like somebody wanted you dead for this circumstance to arise in most circumstances.
There have been times where you guys should have technically instantly died.
Right.
And
But you
like
generally
just
don't
barely
want
or
that
something.
to happen because
Yeah,
it just
it's
super
such a
sucks.
feels bad. It's so crap. What is
So-
instant death? How do you instantly die?
So, the instant death happens when you take an amount of damage that is past 0 hit points,
Yep.
equal to your maximum health.
So you have a health of 50 if you end up taking minus 50.
Yeah.
If you end up on minus 50.
If you end up on minus
then
50.
it's instant death. Yeah, this is one of the very, very few things I have actually cheesed a little bit. When like you do an attack and you crit a load of shit, and then it's like,
it ends up doing like 300 damage, and you're like, that's not what I want.
yeah, because I don't really like instant death.
Yeah, there's no time for drama. There's no time for like.
Yeah,
You just.
I mean,
Oh, you're
you
obliterated
should have
now.
balanced an encounter, but there's always
I feel like that just happens
something-
when you haven't really.
yeah. When you're doing enough encounters, there's gonna be one time where you don't prepare
Could be
for
random
it,
chance,
and yeah,
yeah.
you're just rolling so many dice that fuck.
Yeah, this also happens, I think, more often to low-level campaigns because you have no hit points. So it's just like really, if you're rolling around with 10 hit points, I mean, you know,
Fall off a ledge. And you can
yeah,
instant
that
die.
fall damage, dude, that's like plenty.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So if you want to be able to be like not
Dying.
dying, you know, not conscious, but just not rolling your death saving throws,
Yeah.
you can stabilize someone who's unconscious. So someone drops to 0 hit points, they're rolling their death saving throws. You can kind of
Make them not die, but not make them live.
Yeah, you can circumvent that in a number of ways. The best being just like straight up heal them.
Yeah.
You know, if you straight up heal them, if they have any health, then they're up and conscious.
So you can heal someone out of death saving throws.
Yeah. You can heal someone like conscious.
Yeah. I tend not to do that. We don't really do that. I think it's lame as fuck.
It sounds kind of weird because you're like, you know, like gurgling blood, like lying down unconscious.
Cure wounds. Huzzah! I'm back!
Toss a little fairy dust on your face.
It feels so like just
animate yourself
wrong.
onto battle. You're just doing the same damage you normally would.
Yeah. I don't put that rule in.
Well, it's as written.
Oh shit.
So that's the recommendation. That's the rules as they are written. Yeah, don't blame us for that.
What about stabilizing?
So if you don't have,
this is the alternate that I encourage.
If you don't have access to healing someone above 0 hit points, then you can make a DC 10 medicine check on them as like an action. And if you succeed, then they are stable.
Sounds reasonable. And they're at 0. But unconscious.
And they're at 0, but they're unconscious.
So the way that we do it is kind of a 2-stage thing. You have to stabilize them and then heal them.
Does anything happen if you fail?
If you fail, I make you roll another death saving throw. If you fail the check.
That's a homebrew, though. That's not
that is all homebrew.
As written. But it does add to the drama. And then one more kind of interesting thing about stabilizing a creature is that if you have stabilized somebody,
and then
weird
they
situation, and you just
you.
like fuck off, I guess, or something. Like you stabilize.
I think it's more for like NPC
characters.
characters, maybe.
Then you will be conscious after 1d4 hours.
Yeah, with 1 hit point.
With 1 hit point. So I really do not know when this would happen because I don't know, like medicine check. All right, I got plans now. So you look fine.
You're no longer bleeding profusely. I just
really wanted to make my date.
What about monsters? How do people do this with monsters?
So this is up to the DM. Most of the time, like, I mean, what would you do with a monster? Do they have to go unconscious when they go to 0, or?
Nearly all monsters will just die when they die. When they hit 0, they're gone.
Do they always explode into monster mist if you reduce their hit points to 0?
I think if you are fighting your BBEG, your big bad evil guy, your main villain, then death saving throws can make sense. Especially if they've got a lot of cronies around and stuff, maybe you're not...
Yeah, we'll get you next time.
Yeah, see? Yeah, that kind of stuff. I think the more important a character is, the less likely they are to die.
Yeah, that's the rules.
Not to cheese it, but you give them a bit more of the player advantages.
Yeah, so as a DM, you could give them the same rules as stabilizing a PC character.
Yeah.
If you have like a character that seems more important, that they might not reasonably just die immediately, like the king of the kingdom or something. You know, it would be kind of weird to just...
Yeah. What about if you want someone to die but not die?
Ah, so you just don't like the cut of their jib, but you don't want to be a felon. So you want to knock someone out. This is something where you knock someone to 0 hit points, so you do enough damage to knock them down to 0 hit points. But you can choose not to explode them into monster mist.
We call this pulling your blows.
Yeah, in the rules as written, you can decide this at the point of dealing damage.
Yeah.
Whether or not like you want him to. And I think the DM will normally ask you, like...
I don't.
Yeah, you might just not and be like, oh, well, you fucking killed that guy at the bar and now the police are looking at you.
You have to pre-state that you don't want to kill this guy, otherwise you're gonna kill this guy.
Yeah, if the DM wants a premeditated murder, then that could be the way that works out.
So yeah, it's basically, if you don't want to kill them, say so, and you won't. They'll just be knocked out.
Yeah, so you pull your punch or something. You do that with a rapier or a fireball. I don't know how that works.
I'll fireball them just a little. I think the last thing to talk about is temporary hit points, right?
Yep. So temporary hit points are hit points that are not normal hit points, and that's important to understand. They're totally separated from your normal hit points.
Yeah, you can't have them as part of your hit point pool, as it were.
Yeah, you don't
Which
get these through normal means as well. You get a temporary hit point by having some spell or ability that says specifically gives you usually like a pretty modest amount.
Yeah,
Right,
5,
like-
10.
Yeah, like of temporary hit points.
Yeah,
say that
which is quite
specifically.
good because they don't take up any room in your hit point pool. So if
Yeah.
you're healed after gaining temporary hit points, you just got more hit points.
Yeah, so it can go above your maximum, but
Mhm.
you can't heal back the temporary hit points through normal means.
Yeah,
And if you take damage, you take damage from your temporary hit points first.
that would suck if it was last and then you like lost them from a time-based effect or something.
That would super suck.
Yeah.
When you needed them most.
They're a bit more finicky than that though, because also if you get another effect that gives you temporary hit points, you erase the previous temporary hit points. You cannot stack temporary hit points.
Yeah, I'm sure that lots of people will be very disgruntled to learn.
you can home rule it however you want.
Can't just keep stacking on your temporary hit. Be careful with that. I'm sure that someone's gonna find a way to min-max that. That's why that's what it is.
Yeah.
But
is there anything
yeah.
else to do with temporary hit points? It's
No,
a very
that's-
long paragraph.
Believe it or not, that's it. I mean, like, it's a lot of words to say basically that. They give you examples in
Yeah.
the text, but it's like, it's important to just realize that they're separate from your normal hit points. You take damage from them first, and you can't heal them through normal means,
Yeah,
and you can't stack them.
sounds reasonable. All right, I think that's it for today.
That's how you hit stuff and hurt them.
I think that's basically it for combat.
Yeah.
Essentially, there's a few odds and ends that we've glossed over, but we may do a catch-all episode afterwards for any questions and stuff, a little Q&A about combat or something.
Yeah.
Makes
Add on to
sense.
that.
From us to you.
Happy
Good
Valentine's
night.
Day.
Oh, yeah, right, it's Valentine's Day.
All right, don't want to date this episode too much. Okay, bye guys.
See ya.